March marks not only the end of the first quarter of the year, honestly don't know where it's going, but it also is the changeover of seasons. So it is a good time to wrap things up and to get a head start on spring cleaning if you're in the northern hemisphere, or autumn cleaning if you're in the southern hemisphere. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and I help you live a simpler, happier, more spacious life. And here are 10 things that you can declutter in the month of March. And this first one is really difficult for me because, as a therapist once told me, I am very future focused. You know, I have a vision and an idea of how I want things to be, how I expect things to be, how I want things to turn out, and that sometimes makes it very difficult to live in the present moment and to accept kind of the current reality. But also because, as a perfectionist and as someone who has like very low tolerance and patience levels, particularly at the moment, for some reason the past few weeks, I just, no, don't talk to me, don't look at me. But I often tend to hold people, myself and others to a very high, often impossible standard. So I'm going to join you with this first thing on the list, and that is expectations for how things should be or how you would like them to be. 99.9% of the time, how you want things to be is just not going to match up to reality. For me, it's very much a control issue. You know, I want to control how everything works and how everything turns out, and I want to control what other people do and how they react to me and all those types of things, and that's just not life. So I'm definitely going to make a concerted effort to declutter these expectations that I have and just try to accept things as they are as much as possible. It's still going to be very difficult, but the reason I wanted to include this one here is because it is, you know, you could have the perfect, decluttered, tidy, organized home, but if your head is cluttered, if you feel burdened, then you're just not going to get the benefit. You know, your home could look immaculate to somebody else, but if you have an expectation in your head for how it should look, it doesn't really matter how tidy it is, you are never going to feel satisfied with it. So I think this is a really important one, probably the most difficult thing on this list, but I wanted to kick off with that because it is really important and it is kind of one of those foundational things. But I completely understand if it's going to be a tricky, almost impossible one for you, because in the same boat. Next on the list then is seasonal decor, or more specifically, throw blankets and cushions. It's particularly good if you can donate them to an animal shelter. I find it easier to let go of things when I know where they're going, like if I know that they're going to a good home. So it brings me a lot of joy, the warm fuzzy feelings, if I know that a throw blanket or something that I'm not using, or a fluffy cushion that I'm not using, is going to be, you know, keeping a litter of kittens warm at night, or something like that. You know, that some animal is safe and snuggly and warm because of something that I had absolutely no use for. There is some little poor, helpless, defenseless animal out there who will benefit from the stuff that right now is just cluttering up your home. Another great one to donate to the animals is unwanted bed clothes. Now, honestly, if it were up to me, I would just keep one set of bedclothes per bed. I think just wash them, dry them, put them straight back on the bed, then you don't have to worry about folding them, you don't have to worry about storing them, any of that nonsense. Although if you do struggle to fold a fitted sheet, I do have a great video. It shows 3 different ways to do it. I'm gonna link that for you. But yeah, I think realistically most people, my husband included, would prefer to have more than one set per bed. So I think 2 is probably a good one to aim for, but that obviously depends on your situation and your circumstances. Figure out what that number is for you and then let go of all of the excess, because it takes up a lot of space. Next up is entryways. So you may have multiple, in which case you can focus on just one if you'd like. We have the front door, we've got a back door that leads out onto the back deck, and we also have a door that leads to the garage. As well as that, you can focus on either the inside of your entryway or just outside of your front door. So our porch out here gets really dusty and dirty and grotty, particularly around this time of year, because it's just covered in like dead leaves dust and debris, and because I leave tubs out for delivery drivers that are full of snacks and drinks, those tend to get full of like little random bits of debris and dead leaves and twigs and all sorts of things. So a great time of year to just dust out your entryway and welcome in a new season. It's also a great time though to problem solve. So if, for example, you discover that there are a lot of shoes that pile up right inside your front door, that might be the sign that you need that it's time to put a shoe rack there. So instead of constantly tidying up and clearing away clutter, try and figure out what is causing it to build up there in the first place, and then solve that problem so that in future, hopefully it will not become an issue again. I'm all about those like one and done things where you just have to fix something once and then never again. 5 on this list then is your car's interior. This isn't such a huge problem for me because I work from home, so I don't really go that many places. Also, I have very strict rule about like no drinking, no eating in my car. A neighbor, I was giving my neighbor a lift somewhere recently, and he like cracked open a can. The look I threw up. Now, in fairness to him, I did not like express the rules to him, but I looked at him and I was like, it is very bold of you to assume that you can open a can in my car. But yeah, generally my car doesn't get a huge amount of use, so it doesn't get too dirty, but the center console can like pile up with various bits and bobs, and I'm sure the same is true for you. Something that I try and get in the habit of is bringing stuff with me. Like when I get out of my car, any wrappers or bottles or any just general rubbish that's in there, I try and take it out with me. Okay, we're going around the back for this next one, and we won't be staying out too long because it's pretty chilly today. I mean, the weather is warming up, but it's still nowhere near boiling enough for me. I can't even see anything. Am I in frame? Who knows? Next on the list is flower beds or vegetable patches. Your general plants. Some of mine are not looking too great. Coming into spring here, so our vegetable patch definitely needs to be weeded and just cleaned out and prepped, and I'm not looking forward to doing any of that, but it has to be done. Okay, it's bright and it's sunny, but that wind would cut through you, so let's just go straight back inside. Yeah. Also, my neighbors are out and this is awkward. Oh, safety of my own sanctuary, that's much better. But goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of the year or just previously at any time, and now you realize that they're just not a priority for you. Listen, we all want certain things, but I think as time goes on, the reality of what it takes to get those things sets in. I think it's perfectly fine to quit something if you make like a clear and conscious decision to do it after you have weighed up the options and just realized that the effort that is involved is not worth the outcome for you right now or in this particular season of your life. It's just more effort than you can devote to this thing. It's not to say that you will never achieve the other goals. It's not to say that you're totally abandoning them and they're not things that you want anymore. It's simply saying, not right now. I need to focus on something else first. Okay, let's move on from things that maybe like play in the back of your mind to things that hide out in the back of your kitchen cupboards. It's all of those kitchen gadgets that you're just not using or not using on a regular enough basis to justify it taking up prime real estate in your kitchen. Are you actually using them? And if not, would someone else benefit from them more than you are? Or like I said, kind of like I hinted at the outset, if you are not using it on a very regular basis, don't let it take up space in your kitchen. So move it somewhere else or move it to a higher shelf, but don't have it in the way of other things that you use on a regular basis, because that's going to be incredibly frustrating. So tuck those things out of the way that you are still using, but just not on any sort of regular basis. Give yourself easy access to the things that you actually need and use. The change of seasons is also a great time to go through medications, supplements, vitamins, things like that. Obviously you want to check the expiry dates of things, see if there's anything there that you know you're just not going to use, something that is just not in good condition anymore. There may be, like, you may have a surplus of certain things, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you should get rid of them. You know, it just means that you don't need to buy those things for a long time. Just make a mental note to yourself. If you are getting rid of them, make sure you are disposing of them safely. But it's also a really good time then to make a note of anything that you do need. So let's say you're coming into allergy season and you realize that your allergy medication is running low, or you've completely run out, or what you had on hand has expired. A great time to make a note for yourself to pick up some more next time you're out and about. I think that's a really important point to make, because often when we think of decluttering, we think of it purely in terms of getting rid of stuff. And while that is the main part of it, the reason behind it is so that the stuff that you're actually using and loving can shine, you know, that it is easily accessible to you and it is there when and where you need it. It's clearing away all the stuff you don't need, all of the clutter, to make space for the stuff that you do love and need and use. And then hobbies and craft stuff. It's funny because I was looking over kind of the version of this video from last year, and at the time I was working on this jigsaw, and like a year later it is still sitting here. That is how frustrating this jigsaw was for me. I haven't made another one since, because it came with 5 corners for a start, and not only are 2 pieces missing from it, but it came with an additional 2 pieces. Like, one is the 5th corner piece, and then this edge piece that doesn't go anywhere. So yeah, missing 2 pieces, 2 extra pieces. I couldn't. So it's been almost a year since I actually sat down and made a jigsaw, and that is a pity. But yes, this is one that I am going to be decluttering. Can't even donate it because it doesn't have all the pieces, and I just would not inflict that on somebody else. But if you have additional hobby craft stuff, you know, craft supplies that you're just not using, or that they're taking up space, I know how easy it is to keep these things, because we think, well, I might use it, it might come in useful, you know, and because it's a hobby or a craft, the topic overall, like that category of stuff, is something that you love. But it is worth remembering that there is a difference between loving something and loving like 11 bajillion of that thing. If it is doing more to hinder you than to actually help you and encourage you to sit down and enjoy spending time doing whatever your hobby of choice is, then it's time to give serious consideration to letting some of the stuff go. Obviously keep the ones that are most important to you, the ones that you are actually working on. Otherwise, just cut ties with the rest, because is it really a hobby if every time you see it you feel guilty about it? That could be in the form of unfinished projects or jigsaws that have sat around for a year. It could just be that you have too much, you feel you have too much of one particular thing, and it's just preventing you, like it's giving you cause to pause every time you want to sit down and do it, because you just don't know where to start because you have too many things. It's a very personal thing, because what is too much for one person is not going to be too much for another. But if, like I said, it is hindering you from actually enjoying your hobby, it's probably time to take a second look at those things. And once you have whittled down your collection, I would really encourage you to create a space for yourself. So if currently you are working off the dining table, or you know, a little corner in your living room or something, be intentional about setting up a proper space for yourself so you can enjoy those hobbies and enjoy all of the craft supplies that you are left with. Like I said, decluttering is not just about getting rid of stuff, it's about making space for the stuff that you actually love. So create your book nook, get yourself a little crafting corner and enjoy it. If you are looking for some major cleaning motivation, check out this video. I had to do a hard reset on at the house because it had got completely out of hand. Go click through to that one, and until next time, go raibh míle maith agaibh agus feici mé sibh go luath. Slán!